Welcome to Spectrum News Within the Week. I am Rita Inung, coming to you live from Uyo. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu swears in Amupiton as INEC chairman. The NEC approves revamp of security agencies and training facilities nationwide. Plus, Trump imposes new sanctions on Russia's oil companies. Details of these stories and more in a moment. Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned. We begin the news within the week from the national scene where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Thursday sworn in Professor Joash Amupiton as the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Amupiton's swearing in by the president comes a week after the Senate confirmed his appointment as INEC chairman following a rigorous screening session on October 16th. President Tinubu charged Professor Amupiton to protect the integrity of Nigeria's elections and electoral process, as well as strengthening the institutional capacity of the INEC.
And defend the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So help me God. Oath of office for Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission. I, Professor Joash O. Amupiton, SAN, do solemnly swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That as Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, I will discharge my duties to the best of my ability, faithfully and in accordance with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the law, and always in the interests of the sovereignty, integrity, solidarity, well-being, and prosperity of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That I will exercise the authority vested in me as Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, so as not to invade or prejudice the authority lawfully vested in the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and so as not to endanger the continuance of the Federal Government of Nigeria. That I will not allow.
Away from that, the National Economic Council, NEC, within the week approved President Tinubu's proposal to overhaul all training institutions of security agencies in Nigeria. The approval followed concerns raised by President Tinubu on the need to renovate, remodel and re-equip all training institutions of the Nigerian police and other sister security agencies in the country. Briefing State House correspondents shortly after the 153rd meeting of the NEC at the Council Chamber of the State House, Abuja, Governor Uba Sani of Kaduna State said the Council also resolved that state governors should collaborate with the federal government in the overhaul project. He said the NEC also set up a committee to kickstart the on-the-spot assessment of the training institutions, stating that the committee is chaired by Governor Peter Mba of Enugu State, who recently defected to the All Progressives Congress from the People's Democratic Party, PDP. Other members of the committee include Governor Sani, Governor Dauda Lawal of Zamfara State, and Governor Sule Abdullahi of Nasarawa State, amongst others. Meanwhile, the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development has announced uniform sale prices for housing units under its Renewed Hope Estate program nationwide. This was contained in a statement signed by the ministry's Director, Press and Public Relations, Badamasi Haiba, in Abuja. On Thursday, the housing units, which comprise 1, 2 and 3 bedroom semi-detached bungalows, are part of the ministry's effort to make home ownership more accessible and equitable for Nigerians. According to Haiba, the approved selling prices are 1 bedroom semi-detached bungalow, 8.5 million naira, 2 bedroom semi-detached bungalow, 11.5 million naira, and 3 bedroom semi-detached bungalow, 12.5 million naira. The Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Ahmed Musa Danjiwa, explained that priority in the allocation of the housing units will be given to low and middle income earners, civil servants at all levels of government, employees in the organized private sector with verifiable sources of income, and Nigerians in the diaspora who wish to own homes in their own country. In another development, the Nigerian Governors Forum, NGF, has pledged its full support for the bill seeking reserved seats for women in the Nigeria's legislature. In a statement issued at the end of their meeting, the governors urged members to actively lobby both federal and state lawmakers to ensure the passage of the proposed legislation, which aims to increase women's representation in political offices. The bill, scheduled for a vote at the National Assembly, seeks to amend the 1999 Constitution. It proposes the creation of special constituencies exclusively contested by women in both the national and state assemblies, aimed at temporarily boosting women's participation in governance. And from the Red Chambers, the Senate Committee on Communications within the week successfully concluded the screening of nominees for appointment to the Board of Nigerian Communication Commission, NCC, led by Chairman-designate Idris Olurunimbe. During his screening, Idris emphasized his commitment to supporting President Tinubu's Renewed Hope agenda through a regulatory environment that deepens broadband penetration, strengthens digital inclusion, protects consumers, and unlocks investment across Nigeria's telecom and digital economic sectors. Idris added that he will bring to the role of proven record of strategic leadership, innovation, and institution building across multiple sectors. And to the Green Chambers, the House of Representatives within the week decried the arbitrary rent increases in Nigeria, calling for no more than 20% of the existing rent, irrespective of infrastructure, improvements of other factors. This followed a motion by the member representing Calabar Municipality or Dukpani Federal Constituency, Basi Akiba, on the need to regulate arbitrary rent increase and protect tenants from exploitation. The House is urging the federal government to prioritize investing in affordable housing initiatives, ensure access to low-cost housing for citizens, and reduce pressure on the rental market. Meanwhile, the House has passed a resolution asking the Inspector General of Police and the Controller General of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, to direct policemen at checkpoints operating in plain clothes to be fully kitted with proper identification. The lawmakers expressed concern that the lack of identification for security officials was not in line with the international best practices and did not allow for officer accountability. And in the meantime, the House of Representatives has launched an investigation into how $4.6 billion in international aid grants between 2021 and 2025 were used. It argued that the grants had failed to prevent high mortality rates from HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria. In a motion presented The lawmakers said urgent oversight and a reevaluation of current strategies were necessary to prevent the country from missing the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs) of ending epidemics of those diseases by 2030. The U.S. President Donald Trump, since returning to office in January, has led the way in cutting foreign aid budgets, prompting humanitarian workers to warn he has put the lives of vulnerable people, especially in Africa, at risk. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives have passed the second reading for a bill seeking to amend the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission Establishment Act 2004 to confer institutional independence on the Anti-Corruption Agency. The resolution of the House followed the consideration of a bill sponsored by Plateau State lawmaker Yusuf Gagdi during plenary. Among other provisions, the proposed legislation seeks to insulate the EFCC from political control and align its operations with global anti-corruption best practices. Leading the debate on the general principles of the bill at a session presided over by the Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu, Gagdi said the amendment aims to modernize the EFCC's legal framework to enable it to respond to the multi-layer patterns of financial and economic crimes across the country. On judicial matters, the Federal High Court in Abuja on Thursday fixed October 29th for the hearing of a suit filed by the police against Omoyele Sowore and other conveners of the Free Nnamdi Kanu Now protest held on October 20. The suit, originally scheduled for October 20 for the respondents in the ex parte motion to show cause why the interim order made by the court should be vacated, could not proceed. The hearing was stalled as a result of the protest, which was held on the same day, crippling the court activities at the Federal High Court in Abuja. The order followed the ex parte motion moved by the police lawyer Wisdom Madaki on behalf of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, FRN. Meanwhile, Kanu Agabi, former Attorney General of the Federation and lead counsel to the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, within the week applied to withdraw his representation in the ongoing terrorism trial before the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja. Kanu is facing trial on a 7-count charge bordering on terrorism filed against him by the federal government of Nigeria. When the matter was called, Agabi informed the court that he would no longer be representing the IPOB leader, adding that the defendant had decided to take back the case from them. In the same manner, all of the senior advocates of Nigeria involved in the case announced their withdrawal from the case. In a related development, the detained self-acclaimed leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, failed to open his defense on Friday in his ongoing terrorism trial before a federal high court sitting in Abuja. Kanu said he could not open his defense because he has not been handed the case file to familiarize himself with its content to enable him adequately prepare for his defense. The self-acclaimed leader noted that those who were to bring the case file to him in the custody of the Department of State Services DSS, where he is being held, could not get to him. He prayed the court for an adjournment till Monday, October 27, to enable him access the case file and familiarize himself with its content. Meanwhile, human rights activist and Free Nnamdi Kanu Now campaigner Omoyele Sowore was rearrested by the Nigerian police shortly after the court's appearance at the Kuje Magistrate Court on Friday. Recall that Sowore, alongside Nnamdi Kanu's brother, Prince Emmanuel Kanu, a former member of Kanu's legal team, and 10 others had earlier met their bail conditions. The court granted them bail in the sum of 500,000 naira each, with two shorties residing in the Federal Capital Territory and possessing valid identification and 3 years of tax clearance. Despite fulfilling the bail conditions, only Sowore was reportedly picked up and whisked away by police officers to the Kuje prison shortly after the proceedings. He is expected to be arraigned on Monday, October 27th, on a fresh charge related to his claim that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a criminal. In a separate development, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Nyesom Wike, has decried what he called the pervasive culture of transactional and mediocre leadership across Africa. He warned that the continent's persistent underdevelopment, despite its vast resources, is a direct consequence of poor governance and self-serving politics. Wike said this while delivering a keynote address at this year's edition of Innovate Africa Conference held at the ECOWAS Conference Hall in Abuja. The minister regretted that Africa's leadership trajectory under military and civilian dispensations has for decades been shaped by self-serving conspiracies that bear little or no relation to national interest or development priorities. In another development, the National Board for Technical Education, NBTE, has cautioned all professional and examination bodies in Nigeria to desist from the illegal conduct and award of National Diploma (ND) and Higher National Diploma (HND) certificates. This was contained in a statement issued to newsmen in Kaduna by the Executive Secretary (ES) of the NBTE, Professor Idris Bugaje, through the board's head, Media and Publicity, Fatima Abubakar. She said Bugaje had issued a circular expressing concern over the activities of certain professionals and examination bodies purportedly designing, conduct and awarding ND and HND certificates in various disciplines. He described such actions as illegal and a violation of the NBTE's Establishing Act. Back here, as the world marked World Polio Day on Friday, Rotarian Akan Emma has emphasized the importance of sustaining immunization efforts to completely eradicate polio, especially among children. Speaking during an interview on the program Well-Being on Spectrum Television, Emma explained that polio is a highly infectious viral disease that primarily affects young children, leading to paralysis and in severe cases death. He noted that although Nigeria has been certified polio-free, continuous vaccination is essential to prevent any resurgence of the virus.
Paralysis, and that's why, common signs, symptoms, low fever, sore throat, severe limb pain, it brings paralysis, and that's why, you would see many children then having paralysis. Oh. It was simple polio. It was just
Rotary International in the global fight against polio through sustained awareness, funding and partnership with health organizations like the World Health Organization, WHO and UNICEF. He further debunked some of the myths around polio and oral vaccination.
Oral polio vaccination, the myth that when they get their children immunized, they become what? Fever, yes. They have fever. Every vaccination, even measles vaccination, every vaccination that a mother takes a child to must have the child temperature must be affected. But after a day or two, the child returns to normalcy, So it's a normal thing. But vaccination pays. Vaccination pays. That's why as a child, when a child is born in a hospital, that child has a card. And in that card, they will inform the mother the kind of vaccinations or immunizations or medication to take, the days to bring the child back for that, all those things are in that card. So it pays. So we come from a society where there is a lot of myths, but forget those myths. Let's face realities. Vaccination.
World Polio Day, which is observed annually on October 24th, serves as a reminder that collective action and commitment are vital to achieving a polio-free world. And still to come in the news. The federal government launches nationwide crackdown on oil and gold smugglers. Stay tuned for details of these stories and more in a moment. Many thanks for staying tuned and welcome back to Spectrum News Within the Week. Moving now to Africa, where Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has met with European leaders in Brussels for the first time ever EU-Egypt summit, marking a new chapter in relations between Cairo and the 27-member bloc. The high-level meeting focused on security, trade, migration and regional stability, particularly in the ongoing crisis in Gaza. During the summit, el-Sisi joined European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and European Council President Antonio Costa in signing 3 key agreements covering macro-financial assistance, support for reforms and Egypt's association with Horizon Europe, the EU's flagship research and innovation program. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen underlined Egypt's strategic role in the region, particularly as the Mediterranean faces shifting geopolitical dynamics. And still in Africa, judges in Cameroon within the week dismissed calls for the partial or total cancellation of the heavily disputed presidential election, saying they will announce the result on Monday. Major cities in the country have been rocked by protests, with opposition supporters alleging that 12th October poll was marred by irregularities, including ballot stuffing. Judges on the Constitutional Council dismissed 8 petitions, citing insufficient evidence of irregularities or a lack of jurisdiction to annul results. Recall that opposition candidate Issa Chiroma Bakari has declared himself the winner, a claim rejected by allies of 92-year-old President Paul Biya, who is seeking another 7-year term. Meanwhile, Ivory Coast President Alassane Ouattara has called on the country's youth to vote in large numbers in the upcoming presidential election, touting himself as the most committed candidate to their welfare. Reporters say voters in the nation of 32 million were due to cast their ballot, with 83-year-old Ouattara running against 4 other candidates. The election is being held amid political tensions after key opposition figures were barred from running, including former President Laurent Gbagbo and former Credit Suisse chief executive Tidjane Thiam, after changing the constitution in 2016 to remove presidential term limits. Analysts say Ouattara has high chances of winning the election, with little challenge from the other candidates. And on the foreign scene, the U.S. on Thursday announced new sanctions targeting Russia's 2 largest oil companies in an effort to pressure Moscow to negotiate a peace deal in Ukraine. The announcement came one day after U.S. President Donald Trump said a planned meeting with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin in Budapest would be shelved indefinitely. While the economic impact to Russia is likely to be minimal, reports say it represents a major shift in Trump's foreign policy, having previously said he would not impose sanctions until European nations ceased buying Russian oil. Meanwhile, Kremlin said Russia was immune to the sanctions. And still on the foreign scene, European leaders aim to endorse controversial plans to use Russian frozen assets to support Ukraine at a meeting in Brussels on Friday. The unprecedented proposal for what the EU has dubbed a reparation loan would see Kyiv receive 140 billion euros worth of frozen Russian state assets currently held by Euroclear, a Belgium-based financial institution. According to reports, the plan has been months in the making, partly due to the legal complexities surrounding it, as well as the concerns from member states about upsetting global financial stability. Meanwhile, President Volodymyr Zelensky within the week met with King Charles in Windsor. The Ukrainian leader was scheduled to head to London, where he will join UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer for a gathering of the coalition of the willing. Reports say Starmer was expected to push European leaders to provide Ukraine with more long-range missiles after a successful attack on a Russian chemical plant using British-supplied Storm Shadow missiles. This comes after US President Donald Trump applied fresh sanctions against two of Russia's largest oil companies in an effort to pressure Moscow into negotiations. And still on the foreign scene, a man detonated an explosive device at a railway station in northern Ukraine on Friday, killing 3 other people and dying of wounds he sustained. According to Ukraine's border guard in a statement, 3 women, a border guard and 2 civilians were killed in the blast, which happened during a document check on a platform next to a train. It added that the man, 23, also died while being treated in an ambulance after the blast. Ukrainian media reported that he detonated a grenade, but a spokesperson for Ukraine's Interior Ministry told newsmen they could not confirm the type of device. On our business news, the Naira on Wednesday appreciated to 1,492 Naira per dollar in the parallel market from 1,495 Naira per dollar on Tuesday, but the Naira depreciated from 1,462 Naira per dollar in the Nigerian foreign exchange market, NAFEM. Data published by the Central Bank of Nigeria showed that the exchange rate for the Naira rose to 1,462 Naira per dollar on Tuesday, indicating 2.5 appreciation for the Naira. Consequently, the margin between the parallel market and NAFEM's rate narrowed to 30 Naira per dollar from 35 Naira per dollar on Tuesday. And still in business, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has suffered a drop in both production and earnings, losing about 380 billion naira in September 2025 when compared to the previous month. According to its latest monthly performance report, figures from the September report showed that the company's total revenue stood at 4.27 trillion naira, lower than the 4.65 trillion naira posted in August, representing a month-on-month loss of about 380 billion naira. Profit after tax also declined from 539 billion naira in August to 216 billion naira in September. The report indicated that the total crude oil and condensate production averaged 1.61 million barrels per day in September compared to the 1.65 million barrels per day in August. Meanwhile, the National Economic Council within the week said it would begin a crackdown on illegal gold miners as part of a broader strategy to safeguard Nigeria's natural resources and boost government revenue. The move follows the Council's decision to expand the mandate of its ad hoc committee on crude oil theft, prevention and control, chaired by Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma, to include the fight against illegal mining and mineral smuggling. Briefing State House correspondents after the 153rd NEC meeting, chaired by Vice President Kashim Shettima at the Presidential Villa, Uzodinma said the expanded terms of reference reflect government's resolve to close off revenue leakages from solid minerals. He added that the committee would work closely with the Ministry of Solid Minerals Development, the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, and the security agencies to curb gold smuggling, unregulated quarrying, and illegal mining exports. And still to come in the news, Liverpool suffer 4th consecutive Premier League defeat at Brentford. Stay tuned for details of these stories and more in a moment.
broadening your horizon is what every living being not only genuinely desires, but heartily pursues and intentionally invests in. For in the gathering of men, only those whose minds are in tune with the dynamics of the past, present, and future innovations, inventions, politics, and governance are respected. We are Spectrum Television, and broadening your horizon is our obsession. Risk on your decoder now to connect Spectrum Television on the frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250. That is frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250. Polarization horizontal, and join our online community at spectrumtvlive.ng. For further enquiries, please call 0704 158 5642 or Vision, broadening your horizon.
Many thanks for staying tuned and welcome back to Spectrum News Within the Week. In health, stakeholders on Wednesday urged governments at all levels and Nigerians to strengthen food security and safety and nutrition, curb antimicrobial resistance, boost healthcare funding, enhance pandemic preparedness, and invest in women's health to build resilient health systems and extend the life expectancy of Nigerians. They made the call at the 2025 Gatefield Health Summit in Abuja themed Resilient Health Futures. This year's focus is on strengthening strengthen local health resilience through chronic disease management, outbreak preparedness, women's health, antimicrobial resistance, health financing, and the One Health approach. The summit noted that a resilient health system is critical for improving life expectancy, which currently stands at 54 years. The event, organized by the Gatefield Impact Foundation, brings together leaders from government, civil society, academia, and the private sector. Still in health, in a mood to deepen public awareness on compulsory health insurance, the Lagos State Health Management Agency has unveiled Nigeria's first health insurance online radio, known as Ilera Eco Spotlight, to educate Nigerian residents on the importance and benefits of enrolling in the scheme. The Health Awareness Digital Radio is another innovative step by LASMA towards achieving universal health coverage in Lagos State through effective information dissemination on the state's mandatory social health insurance scheme, particularly known as Ilera Eco. The social health insurance of Lagos State is backed by the state's health scheme law of 2015, which makes it compulsory for all residents of the state to have health insurance, regardless of their socio-economic status. Recall that in July 2024, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu signed an executive order making health insurance compulsory for all residents. Meanwhile, healthcare practitioner Temioluwa Oluwatumbosu has advocated the need for robust systems and smart policies to tackle maternal death in the country. She also called on young Nigerians in the diaspora to lend their wealth of experience towards addressing Nigeria healthcare delivery challenges. Oluwatumbosu noted that her plan is to revolutionize maternal and child health care in low-income communities in Nigeria. She called on young Nigerians in diaspora who have been trained to bring their wealth of experience to the Nigerian healthcare system. To sports news now, where Super Falcons head coach Justin Madugu is firmly focused on his side's clash with the Amazons of Benin Republic. The holders are eyeing a place at the 2026 Women's Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco. Nigeria will be up against their neighbors in the first leg of the final qualifying round tie at the Stade de Cague in Lomé. The Super Falcons are overwhelming favorites to scale through the hurdle. The reverse fixture will hold at the Moshood Abiola Sports Arena, Abeokuta, next week Tuesday. And still in sports, Liverpool slumped to a fourth consecutive Premier League defeat as Brentford bullied the defending champions in a 3-2 win on Saturday. Goals from Dango Utara, Kevin Shade, Igor Thiago secured victory from the Bees, who climbed to 10th in the table. Liverpool slipped to 6th and could be 7 points adrift of leaders Arsenal by Sunday, as their title defense has collapsed in spectacular style over the past month. The Reds have lost 5 of their last 6 games in the competitions as Arne Slot appears lost for answers in how to develop a cohesive team from a Premier League record spend of nearly £450 million in the transfer window. One of Slot's big decisions was taken out of his hands as Alexander Isak missed out due to groin injury, but Mohamed Salah did return from the side that trashed Eintracht Frankfurt in the Champions League on Wednesday to snap a 4-game losing streak. Meanwhile, Elena Rybakina has clinched the last spot for the next month's WTA Finals by beating Victoria Mboko to reach the Pan-Pacific Open semi-finals. The 2022 Wimbledon champion, who has won 2 WTA 500 titles this year, beat 19-year-old Mboko 6-3, 7-6, 7-4 to seal her place in the end-of-the-season event. The WTA Finals, which features the top 8 single players and double teams of the year, starts on November 1st in Saudi Arabia. Her victory over Mboko means she will join Arina Sabalenka, Iga Swiatek, Coco Gauff, Amanda Anisimova, Madison Keys, Jessica Pegula and Jasmine Paolini in Riyadh. On our business news, popular socialite and business mogul Obinna, popularly known as Obi Cubana, has revealed that he plans to retire from active business within the next 10 years. Speaking in a recent interview, the 50-year-old entrepreneur said he intends to step back from the fast-paced life at age 60 to focus on touring the world and spending quality time with his wife. According to the father of 5, his current goal is to build a strong legacy and secure his children's financial independence. Cubana explained that his business lifestyle, often involving frequent business trips, is all part of laying foundation for a stable future. He added that his approach to success means working smart and creating a sustainable system that allows him to enjoy the fruits of his labor in his later years. Lastly, in the news within the week, Nollywood actor Williams Uchemba has called on the Nigerian government to enforce public executions for convicted kidnappers, saying that visible and decisive punishments is the only way to deter the rising wave of abductions across the country. In a video shared on his Instagram page, Uchemba expressed frustration over what he described as the government's failure to enforce existing laws on capital punishment. According to him, the absence of strict consequences emboldens criminals to continue their acts with impunity. The actor also cited China as an example, noting that the Asian nation maintains the death penalty for serious kidnapping crimes, corruption as well, a policy he believes has contributed to its low crime rate. And that's all we have for you on the news at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News within the week. I am Rita Inu. Enjoy the rest of your day.